It did not go down well. People criticizing his comedic timing.
Why did he do it?
I do feel that it's quite contrived.
Instead of sharing Colbert's posts with Prince Harry, Meghan Markle could have sat back and made a phone call.
If they were being counselled right, they would get in touch with him.
We've seen Andrew in the past really dig his heels in and not budge until he's absolutely forced to. So certainly the press will be watching.
Welcome to Royal Exclusive, where this week we ask, have we seen the last of Meghan's Cookery show? When will we see Andrew Mountbatten Windsor leave Royal Lodge? Did the sight of Prince Harry on telly this week have us laughing or cringing? And why were all eyes on the Princess of Wales at the third Windsor Castle State Banquet of the year? I'm Matt Wilkinson, the Sun's royal editor, and joining me, I'm delighted to welcome Vanity Fair's royal correspondent Katie Nicholl, royal reporter Richard Palmer, and joining us from Los Angeles is Kinsey Schofield from Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Now, we have a bit of jokes sometimes on this show. It's not all serious news, it's not all about royal scandals and gossip, but Prince Harry appeared on TV in America. Was he funny? Was it a laugh? Did we enjoy it? Kinsey, you are our US expert. You would have been watching it in America. How did Prince Harry's appearance on the Stephen Colbert show go down this week?
It did not go down well. People criticizing his comedic timing, how tone deaf he was. And politically, I think it was a dangerous move. Prince Harry is living in a gig economy now, chasing paycheck after paycheck. The pay-per-view Hilton Prince, he needs Americans to buy the shows and books that fund his lifestyle. He needs people to want to see him speak at conferences. So taking a swipe at President Trump on national television, that's risky. Trump won the election, which means Harry just alienated at least half of the country. Why poke the bear when silence would have protected the brand he's trying to sell?
There was a couple of, there was a couple of jokes there. There was a couple of comedy skits. He was pretending to want to be a prince on a Hallmark movie. I mean, do you share Kinsey's thoughts on this, or was it a light-hearted fun show rather than politically dangerous, as Kinsey was pointing out there?
Look, I think we always have a crack at Harry for having lost his sense of humour on his way to California and being a bit of a bar humbug about everything. So I actually think it's quite nice to see. I mean, he is actually a very, very funny person, and I think it's a bit of light relief, I suppose, to see him doing that. I mean, I think Kinsey has a really good point, and he's not Trump's favourite person anyway. And don't forget, there's the whole situation over his visa, whether he lied on it. That's still not completely gone away. So I completely agree that poking the bear is frankly a stupid thing to do. But then Harry does sometimes do stupid things. I don't mind when he does silly things like this, because I think it just reminds us that he's a funny boy at heart. And actually, he looks pretty happy.
He looks pretty happy. We sometimes in this show, or sometimes royal commentators, we talk about an old Harry, and we kind of have this fabled belief that Harry was different back in the day.
But he was different back in the day, Matt. He absolutely was. I mean, Richard and I will remember him sort of as an 18, 19-year-old, the first time we went out to Lesotho. He was good fun, witty, great comedic time, and actually didn't take himself too seriously. And I do think that has got lost in translation across the Atlantic. So I just think it's a bit refreshing to see that side of him hasn't completely gone. I do feel that it's quite contrived and not perhaps as authentic as he used to be.
Well, that's a Sussex buzzword, authentic.
Oh,
You're
God,
authentic
I've
to
done
yourself,
it.
Richard. Was he being
It's
authentic?
a royal household buzzword, isn't it? They all want to be authentic. I partly agree. I think he was. I thought he was funny. I enjoyed it. I agree that it looked like the old Harry, and I do think there is a difference. There's a difference, I think, since he did that therapy and was afflicted, I think, by post-traumatic stress disorder, all arising from the fact he hadn't really processed his mother's death, and so it was good to see him like that again. But also, I do think it was dangerous to make the joke about President Trump. I'm sure it was scripted for him, but they did agree when they quit their royal duties that they would uphold the values of Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And
not being political being one of them,
right? Exactly. So I do think that was slightly dangerous territory for them.
Well, can I just say, Matt, I do think if we're talking about old Harry and new Harry has higher, he has some very high expectations for the people he allows in his life, and he demands loyalty. And that's one of the biggest complaints we've seen from him in the last 5 years. He didn't feel like the British royal family supported him and his wife. Then why do you go sit on Stephen Colbert's desk and crack jokes on that stage when Stephen Colbert last year was making jokes at Catherine and William's expense, accusing William of cheating on his wife on national television in America? Colbert never apologized for the accusation. He apologized that he poked fun at Catherine during a difficult time in her life. But that's not an example of loyalty, Matt. In fact, if I were Prince William, I would be absolutely livid that Harry is platforming this guy who, by the way, is out of a job come May 2026. His show's been canceled, and he blames Donald Trump.
It's a very interesting point, Kinsey, because I remember that horrendous time when there was so much, almost like online bullying about the Princess of Wales that Stephen Colbert kind of dived into. But also, there's Kim Kardashian. And, Harry and Meghan did go to Kim Kardashian's or the family birthday party just a couple of weeks. Do you think this is accidental by the Sussexes or deliberate, or are they poking another bear, not just Trump, but also William?
I did feel like he was lashing out a little bit, and I felt like the Oprah Winfrey interview was lashing out. When he doesn't get the attention he wants from his family, he goes to the media. He goes and sits down with BBC. He sits down with Oprah Winfrey. And he knew that what he was doing in calling Donald Trump, the current president, a king, and saying, "Oh, I thought you guys elected kings around here." He knew that could potentially negatively affect all of the hard work that the royal family's recently done in their relationship with Donald Trump, that incredible state visit. Keir Starmer, who can't stand Trump, getting along with Trump thanks to the king stepping in with that soft diplomatic power. I think he can be a liability because he can be so unpredictable sometimes.
It's really interesting, guys, because I saw this as just a comedy, funny skit. I just watched it and saw this funny. Now we hear the American point of view that actually this may have backfired for Harry. One of the questions that I think I'd like to ask is why did he do it?
I really don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. Kinsey, he's not promoting anything over there at the moment, is he? There doesn't seem to be any reason for him doing it.
No. Maybe just
he was on his way home from a $500 a ticket Hilton conference. He was, I wondered if he was trying to distract from that awkward pay-per-view Prince event at the Hilton in Toronto.
It's often they just almost, it sounds dreadful, they like to be seen. They like to appear on things, and sometimes it doesn't need to actually be anything that they're promoting or anything like that.
And certainly nothing is done coincidentally. Everything is done with thought. It's quite deliberate. And I think, you mentioned the Kardashian party, and the one thing that just strikes me as so evident, particularly when you see William and Kate all over the front pages today at the state visit, is this absolute polarisation between these two couples of Harry and Meghan quintessentially as celebrities, not even celebrity royals, celebrities, and William and Kate being royals. And actually, that's very useful for William and Kate.
We'll get on to a little bit of state visit later. We'll talk about that in a bit of depth. We also saw Harry appear on the final, is it the final? Is it the last ever? The holiday special, Meghan's last With Love Meghan episode that was screened. Seemed to be filmed a long time ago.
Yeah.
Do you think it's over now? Do you think is this the last one? Or is this it's gone?
I think she'll do similar shows to that. Whether she does them with Netflix or somebody else, I don't know. But that's her thing. She's gone back to what she loved doing when she was still an actress before she got engaged to Harry. And I think I'm in a very small minority amongst royal journalists because I actually quite enjoyed it.
I think a small minority amongst all viewers as well.
Well, possibly. I think if you're a Harry and Meghan fan, you will love it. If you don't like them, you will hate it. And there probably aren't too many people in the middle who will be too fussed about it. It's not the type of show that I would naturally watch, but I think because I watched it for work and I watched the previous series for work, I sort of bought into the concept a bit, and I enjoyed it, and I was fascinated. It was fascinating as a Brit to see an American explaining the tradition of Christmas crackers, because I hadn't realised. I thought we all did it all around the world. And so it's quite funny to see your customs described by a foreigner.
Kinsey, Richards will be very disappointed if there isn't another series of With Love, Meghan. Where do you stand on that?
I feel like she answered that question when she sat down with Fortune's most powerful women during that conference in Washington, D.C. not too long ago, when she talked about this pivot to short form content. I mean, I'm with Richard. I wasn't bothered by the Christmas special. I really can't complain much about it. I didn't think that I could relate to much of what was going on. I'm not going to go buy a silk scarf and wrap it in a wine bottle, but I didn't think that there was anything offensive about it. I think that she knows that she could have done each one of those little projects on TikTok in 90 seconds, and that's where the future is. So maybe that's where she's going to pivot, but she has to find a way to monetize that in the way that Netflix was facilitating, that big paycheck.
Casey mentioned there about the Netflix deal. They still have a Netflix deal. There's still a first look deal, isn't there? So
I think, Netflix have to get first option on any new ideas. And I think there's a romantic movie coming up. Whether or not there'll be another cookery show, we'll have to wait and see.
Would you watch a third series like with Richard?
Look, I've dipped in and out of it. I haven't faithfully watched all of it. I mean, a friend screen grabbed an image from it last year, and it was the rating saying you, and alongside it, no offensive material. She said, I beg to differ. I thought that was quite funny, actually, because I think some people, she's just so Marmite, isn't she? You either love her or you hate her. You're either going to watch this show and enjoy it, or just think, I'm not even going to bother. But you know what? She's bringing a bit of festive cheer. I actually come away feeling that I need to go and really not be here on this show, but go home making my own Christmas crackers and doing everything else I need to do to be ready for the holiday period. I sort of come away feeling a bit like I'm not quite meeting Meghan's standards when it comes to that. But I think sometimes you actually just want to tune into something just to be able to actually switch off and enjoy it. It's beautifully presented. You see Harry pop up in it. She's got all her friends on board. It's beautifully done. I like the fact that she actually used an apron this time round. Made it feel a bit more authentic.
And pyjamas.
And PJs.
But my argument would always be if they'd done that in 2020 or 2021, they'd be in a much better position now. They spent too many years moaning where they could have just gone on and had a media career in the US and been a bit more successful. And that's why it's not working. But then again, who knows what could have happened. Now, Thomas Markle Senior. We're hearing some really bad news this week, Kinsey and everyone. We're hearing, from the Philippines, we're hearing from his son that he's been in hospital. He's been in intensive care. Yeah. And potentially, we the latest time of filming is that we believe that he's lost his leg.
An amputated leg.
Look, everything goes out to Thomas Markle and the family out there in the Philippines, and all our thoughts definitely go to him, and he makes a full recovery. We haven't heard anything from the Sussexes, either Harry or Meghan. Should we?
Well, yes, I think. It's been very interesting seeing Harry trying to reconcile with his side of the family, but there's been no discussion from him or Meghan about reconciling with her side of the family. And I having been through family rifts myself, and I think most people go through these during a lifetime, I think ultimately, at the end of the day, you think we shouldn't have let that go on for so long. It might never be the same again, but you want to build bridges and at least be on speaking terms with family members. So yes, I think that if they were being counselled right, they would get in touch with him and she would try to fix things between them.
And indeed, her brother and sister, haven't they,
yes.
said they really urging the Sussexes to reach out. And I think, the problem is, as Richard said, I think every family can empathise. And I think, with the one thing you see with our royals is that sense of relatability, I think now more than ever. And I just think it would do them a huge amount of good, actually, universally, if they were to reach out at this stage and just say, we've had our problems, as any family do. We're sending our best wishes and our hopes that he's going to pull through this. And I think actually that would be a masterstroke of PR more than any other PR could possibly achieve, because it would show compassion and empathy, two things that they talk about in so many contexts when it comes to their philanthropic work. But actions speak louder than words.
Kinsey, Katie's made a very good point there. I mean, we were talking about the Christmas, episode that she shot as well. Not just the work they talk about, empathy and stuff like that. We're talking about family. We're talking about getting round at this time of the year. Does Meghan risk looking callous, or by not getting in touch with Thomas, or making a big deal that she's wanting to reach out to Thomas?
I mean, I do think that a lot of the hostility we see on the internet surrounding the holiday special is that, the fact that it's a familyless holiday special. Yes, we see Prince Harry briefly, but, you never see the children. And this all happened within a 24-hour span. Meghan's holiday show is released. That's been on the books for a few weeks. So we cannot judge her over the fact that that happens on the same day that her father ends up in a hospital and loses his leg. However, Prince Harry does go and sit down with Colbert that same night. We all know that Thomas Markle's in the hospital, so I can guarantee you he does as well. Meghan starts sharing social media content on Instagram of Harry playing around with Colbert on the set. That is not a good reflection on her. And I do think a lot of the hostility we see surrounding her special in general, like I said, I watched it. I was bored. It was fine. But I think a lot of the anger is directly related to the fact that this is all happening at the same time. And instead of sharing Colbert's posts with Prince Harry, Meghan Markle could have sat back and made a phone call or sent a text message to confirm that her father was in good health.
Well, as soon as we heard the news that King Charles had cancer, as soon as we were told and it was announced, and we were given briefings and it all went out, Harry flew back from California. Whether he was welcome or not, he raced to Clarence House and he saw his father for about half an hour because he wanted to see his dad after learning that he had cancer. Currently, that hasn't happened in the Philippines. Should we expect Meghan to fly to the Philippines? Should she fly to the Philippines?
I don't think she's going to, is she?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I think the smart move would be to do something privately,
Okay.
but then say to the family, look, it's up to you. If you want to tell the world that Meghan's been in touch, it's up to you, but we're not going to say anything publicly. That would be, I think, quite a classy thing to do.
Classy. Let's hope it happens. And let's say all our thoughts go out to Thomas Markle Sr. as well. It sounds like going for a very difficult time. And he speaks about Royal Lodge, the story that never goes away until Andrew goes away at some stage. But there's been new shade, there's been new attention on all royal houses because there's been this Crown Estate report, Public Accounts Committee report, that's revealed lots of the details about the rents of other members of the royal family. Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, both pay a peppercorn rent. Richard, there's a lot of attention on royal houses at the moment. This is a headache for the King and the royal family, right?
It certainly is, and I think the royal family's approach to the Andrew problem has been to try to isolate him, to try to contain it, and just say there's not a wider problem. It's just all about him, and now you have MPs saying, well, we want to look at the wider housing arrangements of members of the royal family.
And it's uncomfortable because these are big houses. These are mansions with huge gardens, and people are starting to say, well, why aren't you paying? There's people struggling for rent in London or struggling for rent in towns to pay it. They're now asking, why aren't you paying a decent amount?
They are. I mean, the Public Accounts Committee hasn't been clear why it has decided to look at these other royal residences. Certainly, I spoke to the chairman of the committee when they first asked the Crown Estate for some information. And at that point, he was leaving open the option of a wider inquiry, but he really seemed to be focusing so much on Andrew. It's not clear what information has triggered this desire now to have a wider inquiry, but it does spell problem, I think, for the monarchy, and it's not a good look. I mean, I think what is often not appreciated is that you have these official residences: Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, Windsor Castle. They're all part of something called the Occupied Royal Palaces Estate that is funded by the sovereign grant, and there are 360 properties on that estate. Many of them are occupied by servants or other members of the household, but there's quite a lot of property to choose from, and I think questions need to be asked about why do these members of the royal family need to live outside of the accommodation that could be provided for them. And whether the Crown Estate is effectively offering subsidised accommodation to them.
Well, Katie, I mean, this is difficult questions. Should the royal family have to answer them? Should the Crown Estate have to answer them?
I think they do. I think they do, Matt. And I think, in the same way that we sort of have this transparency over the royal accounts, which we didn't used to have. We've seen the spotlight put on the Duchy of Cornwall and that estate, haven't we, in the past year with the panorama, or I can't remember, the Channel 4 documentary about it. I do think that these are issues that the public need to know about and have a right to know about. And I don't think it's fair that, when everyone else is struggling with a cost of living crisis, that the royals are still paying a peppercorn rate that probably hasn't changed or been reviewed in decades. And now, of course, this has come to light. So Andrew has sort of unwittingly opened up Pandora's box and added to the King's list of woes over this. I mean, royal residences is certainly something that Charles has looked at since he's become king. We know he's opened up palaces more widely, made them more available to the public, but that issue of the private housing surrounding the royals is one that sort of has remained off limits and now has been thrust into the open. So I think this is going to be a story actually that's going to run into next year and could prompt a big review.
Kinsey, have you been following this news about our vast royal properties out here? We've had this report, or we've had the Public Accounts Committee have demanded a report from Crown Estates, and we've learned actually, as one of the aspects, that Prince Andrew, when he leaves Royal Lodge, he's actually handed back his lease, and he has 12 months. Well, he has to the end of October now to actually leave and get up to Sandringham. But there's so much attention on, I think, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, as I say, a 120-room house that they pay a peppercorn rent on. I mean, royal families should have big houses, though, right?
But they should have big houses, and I'd love to know more about the circumstances as to how, Prince Edward, why he was given that house. What were Princess Anne and Andrew given anything specifically, and that's why Prince Edward was given this property. I don't know what the specifics are there, but I can tell you that I really admire the work that Prince Andrew and Duchess Sophie have done over the last 5 years. They swooped in when we lost Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and the Duchess Sophie was so kind and such a great friend to Queen Elizabeth towards the end of her life, and they've represented the monarchy so well. So I do hope that we're good to them. I would hate for their home to be in jeopardy because of all of this. But the reality is, I think these people could probably kick in a few more bucks if they're required to, if they want to stay in these properties. When the economy changes for us, we have to pay more rent. Perhaps the same should be said about the royal family.
A very good point. The late Queen started paying tax after the fire, after Annus Horribilis. I mean, we could see them living in small houses. Edward and Sophie be living somewhere else.
You can't expect to be on a lease and a peppercorn rent that dates back decades, which these arrangements will. There has to be some sort of review system, and I think that's something that's going to perhaps be put in the spotlight and possibly implemented.
Sorry, Richard.
I have to say, just to balance things up, I mean, I think there is a big issue here, and it needs to be scrutinised properly. But just to balance it up, I did speak to a guy who makes a living from selling high-end properties and leasehold properties, and he thought that the lease arrangement for Royal Lodge was perfectly fine, and what one would expect to pay on an estate like that, where there are quite severe restrictions for the tenants. You can't land a helicopter there, for example. And he was saying, if you've got that much money, you're much more likely to go off and buy your own estate somewhere. So it does mean that there's quite a small pool of people who are willing to take on those sort of properties.
Yeah. So
that's the counter argument. I think it all needs to be examined fully, and hopefully the Accounts Committee will do that.
And just one last thing on it before we move on. Prince Andrew, 12 months.
I was just thinking that before you said that. I was thinking, gosh, we know he doesn't really want to go to Sandringham, where essentially he's going to be in royal exile, but he's close enough to the king that, the king can keep an eye on him. That's the whole point of him going there. Apparently, Royal Lodge is a mess and is going to need, a huge amount of work done on it. He hasn't looked after the property. The idea that he could be there through till next October potentially is not a good look. And we've seen Andrew in the past really dig his heels in and not budge until he's absolutely forced to. So certainly the press will be watching.
Oh, we'll be watching. We're waiting for them to leave. But it's really interesting that we were kind of guided that it would definitely not be before Christmas.
Yes.
Of course, it won't be before Christmas because the royal family will be there at Christmas. But they can't even guarantee it's the end of January. They can't even guarantee there isn't a move date for Prince Andrew to leave. So yeah, the siege of Royal Lodge isn't over.
Neither is the Andrew problem.
Exactly. Kinsey, myself and Richard, we had a lovely day, didn't we? Earlier this week, we were at Windsor Castle. Where we got to stand in a side room and watch on telly the wonderful State Banquet. Did you capture all the images and the wonderful bits from the State Banquet? And the Princess of Wales obviously looked absolutely incredible in her dress.
Oh yes, that was my favorite part. Now you guys wrote lilac, Katie. It was. I thought it was blue. Was it blue or lilac?
Yeah, I mean, in the
Wales
pictures
dress?
it looks more blue.
Oh, okay.
We had big debates.
The palace said pale blue, didn't it?
Yeah.
Pale
they?
blue.
That's what
Okay, perfect. Yeah, but that beautiful.
Mm.
She looked, exquisite, enchanting. And in front of the picture they posted in front of the Christmas tree, I just thought was absolutely precious, and it gives you a real confidence in the future of the monarchy. They look young, healthy, in love, and they're a beautiful couple, and they're doing really wonderful things.
It was a third incoming state visit this year. We've had 2 outgoing ones. We're kind of being spoiled, aren't we, Katie?
Yeah, we're racking them up. That's good. And I think what we're seeing done differently is they're not being strung out over days and days. I think largely due to the King's health. He's obviously doing all of this while undergoing cancer treatment. And I think, again, that's a reflection of doing things differently, doing things his way, on his terms, but still ticking all the boxes as head of state, making sure all those important diplomatic relations are cemented, continued. I mean, they couldn't have looked happier, and it's all over the papers, and it's brilliant for international relations, and it's what the royals do so well.
Rich, when we get, Kinsey, everyone, we get like about 15 minutes to go into the State Banquet Hall. You've been there many times.
Yes.
You've seen this 70 of them.
And it's wonderful.
And you get to see where everyone sat. And Claudia Schiffer was there, sat opposite Prince William.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I remember that Prince William famously had
a crush on her.
Posters of Claudia Schiffer on his wall.
And Naomi Campbell and
Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
Was it Cindy Crawford?
Yeah.
Or Christy? No, maybe it was Cindy Crawford. And yes, he came back from school one day, I think, to find that Diana had invited all 3 of them to meet him. And he went completely red-faced.
Wow.
Very embarrassed. And I think he's met her since, though, hasn't he, William? Because the Prime Minister was sitting next to her. That was a treat for the Prime Minister, I'm sure.
I just wonder if there was any more embarrassment over that Christmas table or anything like that. But they've grown up now. I think they seem to get away with it. I think we mentioned about the Christmas tree in St George's Hall. So Christmas feels like it's started now. Princess of Wales will be hosting her Christmas Carol concert. What are we looking forward to there?
I'm excited to see the way that the princess is subtly honoring the Duchess of Kent, who we recently lost, through one of her charities. And I'm so sorry, I'm spacing on the charity's name right now. It's Young Voices or Young Talent, and I apologize. I'll leave it in the comments below, YouTube. But the way that the Princess of Wales is honoring the Duchess of Kent, I thought was very important, because the Duchess of Kent, she worked so quietly and she never wanted attention. So this, I thought, was such a sweet nod to her.
Kinsey, who's done Christmas better this year, do you think? The Princess of Wales or the Duchess of Sussex?
What a savage question, Matt. You're trying to get me in trouble. Of course it's the Princess of Wales. This is her holiday. When I think of Meghan Markle and Christmas, I think of 2019 when they were sitting in Canada working on SussexRoyal.com about to implode the British royal family. I do not necessarily associate Meghan Markle with her Christmas special yet. So I think that this Christmas Carol concert is something that we all look forward to every year, along with the King's speech. And it's just become the most precious tradition.
I'll throw it out to the room. I mean, we've had the Meghan's Christmas special. We have Catherine's Christmas Carol concert. Are they both different, or they both embody the season?
Well, I think I agree that it's become a fixture now of the Christmas season. I mean, sadly, we don't have the thing that I used to love most, which was when the Queen and Philip got on the train to Sandringham, because that was when you knew that Christmas is just around the corner. But this is the start of it, really, for us, I think, here. And I'm looking forward to it immensely tonight. One of the things I always love is you get to see the kids normally. And
the Middletons turn up.
Yeah, the Middletons, who are obviously really important to that whole unit. William has found a lot of love and comfort from them.
I think it's been very nice as well that Catherine's been given the space to create something that's a sort of a legacy piece now. As Kinsey said, it's become a precious tradition. It's still very much in its early stages, but it's something that we all look forward to, and I really enjoy the fact that Catherine gets so involved. She's part of the planning, the performances. She penned a letter this year saying how much she was looking forward to it all. We get a real idea of the message that she wants to put out at the end of the year. I mean, obviously we get that with the King's speech, which is the sort of high point, I think, of the royal Christmas. But this is the preface to it now, and has become a tradition that I think is going to continue for many years.
Yeah, and it'll be on TV in the UK on Christmas Eve, but we'll try and enjoy it when we're there if we can. We just got time for our quick fire questions, okay? I'm going to come to you, Richard, and I'll go on a little route to Kinsey at the end. Is that fair?
Okay.
So first question, with William famously having a poster of Claudia Schiffer on his wall, which member of the royal family would you have a poster on your wall?
I think I have to say Camilla. I really like her. She's great fun. I think I'd feel a bit pervy if I said Kate, or I'm a bit too old for that, and I don't think my wife would approve. Having said that, I did have an editor who asked Camilla for a picture, a framed picture. She gave it to him, and he then told her that it was making his wife jealous.
Oh, so, wow. Don't tell us the name. We can always try and work it out ourselves. Katie?
I'd have the late Queen, and in fact, I have found it's a painting by an artist called Mr. Brightside. Have you heard of him? See, everywhere I go, I seem to be seeing this. It's sort of Banksy-style, neon, fabulous artwork, and it's just a cool image of the Queen on her coronation day with all this neon colour, and she looks so fabulous. And just sometimes, I do actually really miss the late Queen, and sometimes I go into a restaurant or a place and I see a portrait of her, and I just think, yeah, she was a very special person.
Great answer. Kinsey?
I feel like I should say the Princess of Wales after that blue dress, but 15-year-old me is going to say Prince William, who I think is a stud muffin. That is my final answer.
We'll hold you to that, a stud muffin, Prince William. Next question. Who would you most like, actually I know what Kinsey's answer is going to be now after hearing that, but who would you most like to sit next to at a state banquet at Windsor Castle, Kinsey?
That hunk Prince William.
Katie?
I'd like to bring Carol Middleton to the table, because I think she'd be great to have a glass of champagne with. And, if I wanted to sit down and interview anyone, if it was a really, no holds barred, off the record chat, be Carol with an E.
Well, I think I will say Princess of Wales this time, because I think she's often unfairly portrayed as a bit of an airhead, just a clothes horse. And in fact, she's a really intelligent woman with a lot of really interesting ideas. And just going back to state visits, I mean, we had a third one this year because the American visit was fast-tracked. And from what we understand, Kate spent the entire evening at that banquet talking to President Trump. And I think there's often, the royals are often portrayed as sort of mere baubles, just there to charm people. But I think we don't know what those two discussed, but we do know that the King and William discussed things like climate change and Ukraine and the need for a UK-US trade deal. And so I think they do push lines from the Foreign Office at these. Well,
the Princess of Wales was not only next to Trump, she was next to President Steinmeier of Germany this week, and also President Macron earlier in the year as well. She's at the prime position next to the leader that we need to schmooze. Right, quick answers for this one, please. With royal family homes under scrutiny, which one would you most like to live in, Richard?
Windsor.
Windsor Castle?
Yeah, Windsor Castle, yeah.
Well, I've just been up to the Scottish Highlands, so Balmoral.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful.
And Kinsey, if you moved to England and or Britain and you had to live in a royal family home, which one would you choose?
I'll say Kensington Palace, because Windsor's already taken. So Kensington.
Excellent.
For the shopping, Kinsey, if nothing else.
I can't believe no one said Royal Lodge because it's going to be empty. But we've got to have a big cleaning bill before you go in, by the sounds of it.
Oh.
A big renovation
Yeah, no.
bill, then, maybe, is the right way of saying it. Right, thanks very much, guys. That's great. Thanks for coming, all the way from America as well. We appreciate it. That's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments as usual, and remember to subscribe to us here on our new Royal Exclusive YouTube channel for the latest on all things royal. We'll see you next week.